In the gripping South Korean thriller Revelations, also known as Holy Night, Demon Hunters, a chilling tale unfolds where faith delusion and a desperate search for truth collide. Directed by Lim Dae-woong and starring Ma Dong-seok, Seo Hyun-woo and Lita in, the film delves into the dark underbelly of religious fervor and the devastating consequences of unchecked ambition. Set against the backdrop of a seemingly devout community, the narrative intricately weaves together the lives of a zealous pastor, a troubled detective, and a sinister figure from the past. The story centers on Sung Min-chan, a pastor whose outward devotion masks a complex self-serving nature, and Lee Yeon-hui, a determined police detective haunted by a personal tragedy linked to a notorious criminal. When a young girl from Min-chan's church mysteriously disappears and an old adversary resurfaces, their paths irrevocably cross. As Yeon-hui races against time to uncover the truth, she confronts not only the darkness of human depravity but also the unsettling manipulation of faith for personal gain. The film masterfully builds suspense, exploring themes of sin, redemption, and the blurred lines between divine will and human madness, leading to a shocking revelation that challenges perceptions of good and evil. Sung Min-chan, a diligent pastor at Mission Nation Church, is deeply committed to his faith and his congregation. One Sunday, while greeting new visitors, he encounters Kwon Young-rae, a man who seems hesitant to engage. Min-chan, in his welcoming nature, offers Kwon coffee and attempts to get him to fill out a new member registration form which includes personal details and a photo. Kwon, visibly uncomfortable, tries to leave, but Min-chan insists. While Min-chan steps away to take an urgent call, Kwon fills out the form. The phone call reveals Min-chan's side business, providing services to investigate infidelity, even suggesting extreme measures like collecting bodily fluids as evidence. Kwon, overhearing this, quickly completes the form and leaves, retrieving his shoes which Min-chan had inadvertently folded. Min-chan later learns from his wife about a new church being built nearby, Heaven's Folk Church, with Pastor Young, Min-chan's mentor, listed as the owner. His wife speculates that Pastor Young might be grooming Min-chan to lead this new larger church, given Min-chan's dedication to his current small congregation. This idea sparks ambition in Min-chan. Meanwhile, a police detective, Lee Yeon-hui, is shown grappling with a past trauma. She has a strained relationship with her sister Yeon-ju, who suffered abuse at the hands of Kwon Young-rae 5 years prior. Yeon-ju struggles with the lingering effects of her ordeal, including the fact that Kwon received a lenient sentence due to a psychiatrist's testimony about his abusive past. Min-chan visits Pastor Young, discussing the new church. Pastor Young, feigning ignorance, asks Min-chan for his opinion on who would be suitable to lead Heaven's Folk Church. Min-chan, aware of Pastor Young's subtle manipulation, suggests that God will reveal the right person. Later, Min-chan's ambition is further fueled by a chance encounter with Won-soo, Pastor Young's son, who also believes he should lead the new church. Min-chan subtly asserts his own claim, implying he's been doing God's work in the area for years. Min-chan's personal life takes a chaotic turn when he realizes he forgot to pick up his son Yeon-yu from daycare, a task his wife had entrusted to him due to her college reunion. The daycare informs them that a man already picked up Yeon-yu. Min-chan, immediately suspecting Kwon Young-rae, whose address he knows from the new member form, rushes to Kwon's house. He calls the police, reporting a potential crime and mentioning Kwon's past as a rapist. The police, however, are focused on procedure and can't act on his suspicions without more concrete evidence. As Min-chan is on the phone, he sees Kwon holding a shovel, fueling his panic. He confronts Kwon, and Yeon-yu, who was with a friend, emerges unharmed. The mix-up was due to a miscommunication at the daycare. The next day, Yeon-hui is assigned to a new case in the Violent Crimes Unit. A middle school girl named Shin A-young, a member of Mission Nation Church, has gone missing, and Kwon Young-rae's ankle monitor has been cut off, making him the prime suspect. Yeon-hui's past with Kwon's case is revealed. Her sister Yeon-ju was Kwon's victim. Yeon-hui is consumed by a fierce desire for justice, feeling that the psychiatrist who testified on Kwon's behalf 5 years ago is responsible for his repeated offenses. She believes the psychiatrist's testimony, which highlighted Kwon's abusive childhood, allowed him to evade full accountability. Police investigate Kwon's dilapidated house, finding evidence of a meticulously planned escape. They question Min-chan, who recounts his brief interaction with Kwon at the church and his earlier erroneous suspicion about his own son's disappearance. He feigns ignorance about Shin A-young's disappearance, though it's clear he knows her. Later, Min-chan is summoned by Pastor Young, who reveals a scandalous secret. Won-soo, Pastor Young's son, had an affair with a church member, and the details have been posted online. Pastor Young, to protect his son's reputation, plans to send Won-soo abroad for missionary work. In a manipulative move, Pastor Young then offers Min-chan the position of lead pastor at Heaven's Folk Church, suggesting it's God's will. Min-chan, seeing this as an opportunity for advancement, readily accepts. Meanwhile, the investigation into Shin A-young's disappearance intensifies. Police discover that Kwon had deliberately damaged security cameras around his home days before his disappearance. Kwon's psychiatrist explains that Kwon's traumatic childhood, including severe physical and sexual abuse, contributed to his mental illness, but Yeon-hui vehemently rejects this as an excuse. She confronts the psychiatrist, blaming him for her sister's suicide, believing his testimony allowed Kwon to receive a lighter sentence, leading to Yeon-ju's despair and ultimately her death. Shin A-young's distraught mother approaches Min-chan, seeking comfort and reassurance. Min Chan, despite his personal knowledge of Kwan's dark past and his potential involvement, offers prayers and platitudes urging the mother to stay strong and maintain faith that Ayong is alive. The police continue their search for Kwan and Ayong, finding Kwan's car abandoned near Fox Hill Pass on Chenil Mountain. As the investigation progresses, it becomes clear that Min Chan knows more than he is letting on, and his self-serving ambitions are intertwined with the tragic events unfolding around him. The ending suggests a deepening mystery surrounding Min Chan's true character and his possible connection to Ayong's disappearance, leaving the audience to question his motives and the extent of his involvement. The desperate search for Shin Ayong continues in the forest near where Kwan Ying-rei's car was found. Her parents arrive at the scene distraught and demanding answers, their grief palpable as they confront the police. Despite the intense search, no body or significant clues are found. The heavy rain from the previous day had washed away any potential evidence. Yeon Hui, deeply invested in the case due to her personal history with Kwan, expresses frustration at the lack of leads. At home, Min Chan's wife Si Young questions his increasing involvement with the church's outreach and his sudden interest in Ayong's prayer service given his past disinterest in such activities. Min Chan, however, confronts her, demanding a confession for her own sins, specifically an affair. He asserts that God knows everything and that to receive revelation they must be pure. Si Young, distraught, finally confesses to adultery, repeating it louder and louder at Min Chan's insistence, seemingly as part of a ritualistic prayer for forgiveness. Later, Min Chan and Si Young visit an assisted living center where Min Chan drops off his mother. While there, they learn from a staff member that a severely injured, bloodied man had crawled to the center and passed out upstairs. Min Chan immediately recognizes the description of Kwan Ying-rei. He pretends to be helpful, offering assistance, but then subtly directs the staff away from the ward where Kwan is, ensuring he has time to interact with him alone. When the police arrive responding to the report of the injured man, they discover Kwan is gone. The staff, unaware of Kwan's criminal background, had given him first aid and moved him. An elderly resident with dementia vaguely mentions God took him and that a pastor tried to kill him, a statement dismissed by the police as a symptom of his condition. Yeon Hui, however, begins to suspect Min Chan. The staff also mentions that pastors' wives frequently volunteer there, prompting Yeon Hui to request a list of their churches. Min Chan, having abducted Kwan, brings him to an abandoned hotel. He reveals his twisted belief that God led him to Kwan on the day of Pentecost, seeing it as a divine mission. Kwan, terrified, realizes Min Chan intends to kill him. He desperately reveals that Shin Ayong is still alive and offers to tell Min Chan her location if he calls the police, knowing it's his only chance to survive. Min Chan, momentarily stunned by the revelation that Ayong is alive, is conflicted. He taunts Kwan, reciting scripture and expressing his belief that God wants him to punish Satan's spawn. Yeon Hui, reviewing dashcam footage from cars near the assisted living center, notices a detail connecting Min Chan's car to the facility and recalls the pastor comment. She senses something is amiss and goes to investigate. At a prayer service for Ayong, Min Chan delivers a chilling sermon praying for Ayong's soul in heaven, implying she is dead. He uses the pulpit to condemn sinners and call for divine wrath, echoing his belief that God desires punishment for evildoers. Yeon Hui tracks down Min Chan to the abandoned hotel. She finds Kwan tied up, badly beaten. Min Chan, in a manic state, declares that God's will is to kill Kwan. He tells Yeon Hui that Ayong is dead and that killing Kwan is the only path to justice. Kwan, however, insists Ayong is alive, desperate to convince Yeon Hui to save her. Min Chan is enraged by Kwan's defiance and his attempt to deceive Yeon Hui. During their confrontation, Kwan taunts Yeon Hui by reminding her that her sister Yeon Ju jumped to her death on her own, further fueling Yeon Hui's rage. Min Chan, believing Kwan's lies about Ayong's death are divine proof that he must kill Kwan, becomes increasingly unhinged. He dismisses Kwan's pleas, convinced that God's plan is absolute. Kwan, amidst his desperate struggle, mentions a one-eyed monster that ate Ayong. This cryptic clue sparks a memory in Yeon Hui. Earlier, her father, a construction worker, had mentioned a remodeling job where the client wanted to accentuate the one-eyed thing, referring to an oculus or a circular window in an old house. Yeon Hui realizes that Kwan's one-eyed monster is not a figment of his imagination but a literal description of the house where he held Ayong captive. Realizing the potential significance of this detail, Yeon Hui immediately directs her team to search for houses with circular windows in the redevelopment zone where Kwan had been working. Acting on this crucial lead, Yeon Hui and her team locate the house. They find Ayong alive but traumatized. The movie ends with Yeon Hui confronting Min Chan, revealing that Ayong is alive and recovering in the hospital. Min Chan, utterly bewildered, insists this is impossible, stating he was told she died. Yeon Hui then asks him, who told you that she died? The question hangs in the air, implicating Min Chan's role in the cover-up and his twisted interpretation of God's will. The film leaves the audience to ponder the depths of Min Chan's delusion and the manipulation he engaged in to fulfill his warped sense of divine purpose, highlighting the dangerous consequences of fanaticism and unchecked ambition. If you enjoy watching this video, then subscribe to Angel Recaps for the latest movies explanation.